In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is Dr. V. Boykin. Dr. V. Boykin is a force of nature, unapologetic, unfiltered, and unafraid to challenge the status quo. A former stripper and felon turned scholar, author, and organizational equity leader, Dr. V embodies radical transformation and fearless truth-telling. With 4 academic degrees earned in her 40s, she defies conventional narratives and reclaims power through education, advocacy, and storytelling. As a keynote speaker and thought leader in organizational leadership and equity, Dr. V brings raw honesty and deep insight to the systematic challenges faced by women, especially those from marginalized communities, in both professional and personal spaces. Her research centers on building equitable support systems that uplift individuals within the workplace and at home, bridging the gap between policy and lived experience. Dr. V's literary work is as bold as her voice. Her debut book, Fix Your Face and Watch Your Tone, Women Know What's Needed, is a rallying cry for women to reclaim their agency and demand respect. Her follow-up, Unapologetically Disruptive, Hard Lessons, Simple Truths, dives deeper into the hard-earned wisdom of a life lived on her own terms. Both works reflect her commitment to transparency, resilience, and the power of disruption as a tool for change. Whether she's speaking on stage, writing from the heart, or mentoring the next generation of leaders, Dr. V. Boykin continues to challenge societal norms and foster understanding across lines of difference. Her appearance on America in Black and White promises to be a riveting conversation about redemption, resistance, and the radical act of being real. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. V.
My grandmother would be so proud of that introduction. Thank you.
How are you?
I am fantastic. I've been looking forward to this for what, 1 or 2 months now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
ready.
I'll tell you, I am so happy and I appreciate you for coming to our platform because, the work you do helps what we do as well. And it's all about serving and building these communities because, we got some people who really need this help.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Yes. And so do you have anything you'd like to add before we jump into the show?
Hold on to your hats, clear the children from your room, and let's have a real conversation about what's going on because I'm in Arizona.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm loving this and I'm ready already. Let's start with your life story and your personal journey. Can you share a defining moment from your early life that shaped who you are today?
I think I was the only unpopular cheerleader. I was almost always the only Black cheerleader, but I was also unpopular. And I don't know many cheerleaders that didn't have a date to like homecoming, right? That's supposed to be the thing that makes you popular. but I was different then and I remain different now. And I was outspoken then and I'm outspoken now. So I would say a defining moment was when I got really fed up and felt that there was a quota on the number of Black cheerleaders that they had at the school. And I decided we should revolt. Like I decided we should create chaos. I decided, unfortunately, that I should make the lives of some of the white cheerleaders harder, especially the coach's daughter. I don't feel good about that, but I did that. And it was defining.
You know something, as you say that, I've always wondered, because when you see just what you just mentioned about the one Black cheerleader, I've noticed that not just on colleges and universities, but these professional teams, that they have, like, it seems like it's a quota of like just two.
Unless unless it's NFL football. And then we can have many. It's no problem then. If we're running or jumping, it seems to be okay, but not swimming.
But you know what's strange about that is, like, why do you think that quota is in place?
I think it's because racism and bias is not something anyone in their right state of mind is proud of. And when you don't address bias, talk about bias and be aware of your bias. But you can ignore your bias if you say, no, I've got one. It can't be me. Right. And nobody thinks, what would happen if I was the only in the room? And some people have never even been the only in the room, maybe the only woman, but never the only white person in the room. That experience is very limited and usually not sustained. And so that checkbox, even inadvertently, relieves the burden, relieves the guilt. And you don't look beyond that because you have solved it. And then they'll say that the pipeline isn't there. And I can honestly say, when I think back to my cheerleading tryouts, the depth of quality applicants for the style of cheer we were doing weren't there. But they also weren't there in elementary school. And they also weren't there in the summer league. And they also weren't. So why aren't we in these spaces? And why isn't it a bother or a question earlier? And that's that bias. You don't see it, and you don't even have to think about seeing it if you've got that one.
Wow. I have to agree with you on that. I really do, because it's one of those things. I think we need to address that, because that definitely needs to be fixed. Because I think when you start talking about this quota system, then it kind of like it challenges the things that are in place that are supposed to bring about equity. You understand what I'm saying? Because it kind of like it reverses what's there, because it says, either when they say equity and inclusion, okay, equity and inclusion doesn't really mean that, because if it did, then that means that, as you say, then there would be more of the Black cheerleaders or minority cheerleaders that they're trying to integrate now would be on the team. But the thing is, you're always going to see that majority white, regardless of the case. And so when you just think about that, I mean, it kind of like it kind of like says, this is what I see as. It's like it says, when we talk about the DEI, we're talking about the equity of white women.
Don't say it. Okay, say it. But here, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But here's the thing. We don't need to talk about this as whether it's a good or bad thing. Let's talk about dollars and cents. You cannot sell me or create a pink razor for women if you don't have a woman in the room. You cannot create an airbag that won't kill me unless a smaller man or a woman is in the room. You can't create a soap dispenser that works on dark skin unless you have a prototype with someone that has dark complexion testing it. You will miss it. It will cost you money. You will do dumb things, stupid things, like have one of the Jenners in front of a Black Lives Matter type crowd holding up a can of soda as if that was going to land well. It will cost you money. So you don't have to like it. I don't care. I don't care why you have me in that room. I care that you have me in that room, and you should care about me being in that room, because if all your people are 6 feet tall and they look over the fence, they will see the storm on the horizon. But the 5'4" person like me will see the pile of crap you're about to step in, because I look down. And
Mhm.
so you need both people. You need the storm on the horizon, you need the boulders that are a little bit further, and you need to avoid that pile of wet mess you're about to step in. So you
Right.
don't have to be a good person. Let's
Mhm.
just appeal to your greed. And we
Mhm.
know that's there.
Right. Exactly. What values were instilled in you growing up that still guide your work?
You know, my mother and I were not close. It was a very contentious relationship. And I think that's because I don't know that she ever had the time to enjoy parenting. When I think about my parenting experience, but my grandmother, who went back to school in her 40s and got her degree from Pitt, my grandmother that said, never do anything on the corner of Murray Avenue in Pittsburgh. Shout out to any Steelers fans. Never do anything on that corner, right? Never do
Mhm.
anything that you wouldn't do on that corner. Um, that equity, you know, she was a staunch unionist. Yeah, she would rise from the dead if I crossed a picket line. Um,
Mhm.
and and she went and got her degree so she could go into inner cities and teach economically disadvantaged people who hated her, who
Mhm.
hated her, who hated everything about the way that she looked, who hated everything about her religious background.
Oh wow.
So that's what she did with her degree. She continued being a school secretary. There was no
Mhm.
financial ROI for her, but it was the purpose of leaving the world better. And
Mhm.
and that has never left me, and she never shied away from the truth, and that never left me.
Oh wow. Now I love that because that's what grandmothers during the time I think you and I were coming up, that's what they did.
Yes.
And see, it did not matter what the case was, but they got it done.
Yes.
I'll just put it like that. They got it done.
Yes.
How did your upbringing influence your passion for equity and leadership?
W well, leaders didn't like me much. I mean, they didn't. Like, I was on the student council, and I guess I wasn't supposed to tell one person that the other person said that about him, but it seemed like it was the truth, so why wouldn't you say it? Um, and what bothered me the most is that they didn't like me because I didn't align, and they saw that as a
Mhm.
direct challenge instead of a superpower.
Mhm.
And why is it and to this day, I haven't quite figured it out. You know, the nice girl in school, the one that everybody loved?
Right.
What what was she doing? How did she do that? I I mean, I can still remember their names and their faces and thinking, why do they like her so much? What? And I think part of my pursuit is trying to figure out what is it that made her or him likable, but not the disruptive, truth-telling, unapologetically different person
Mhm.
likable.
Right.
And how does that show up now on teams? Because I can tell you the magic, the progress is done by the disruptor, not the status quo keeper. Now, both of them are needed
Right.
because when I disrupt, I need somebody to pull me through that, right? And keep the train moving. But it's the disruption to the
Mhm.
marketplace, to the organization that is the value. But companies don't tend to like it. They say they like it though. It's a trap.
Mhm.
It's a trap.
Right. Yeah. Were there any pivotal mentors in your life who helped you find your voice?
I have to give a shout out to Dan Tyre. He's a white gentleman in the Phoenix area. And he talks about the black tax more than I do. He talks about how black women get things done more than I do. He allows me to never come close to falling into they're all like that, and
Mhm.
reminds me to check my own bias, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Mhm.
I would also say that, of course, my grandmother. There was
Mhm.
also a woman called who was named the Reverend Joan Salmon Campbell. That was a dynamic force of a woman.
Mhm.
Um, I think there's many people, but I also have to say the people that taught me what I didn't want to be were just as powerful as the ones that taught me what I did want to be.
Oh wow.
But they don't get named.
Yeah, but they say it takes a village,
Yes.
and when you have that kind of strong foundation, I mean, it just shows the quality, the value, and the character that you have. Because when you're able to not only speak your truth, but to able to make your mark and to let that be known, those are the things that a lot of people are afraid to actually do what you do, especially a lot of women, because I think when you find that voice, there's no need to silence it. That's just me.
I agree. And I will also say, look, I've been handcuffed to somebody that committed murder. There's not much you can do that scares me. I've taken off my clothes totally sober in front of other people on a stage with really bad lighting. I mean, there's not much that can scare me. I've been a single mother. I've had to go to Tractor Supply to buy penicillin because I thought my son had strep because I didn't have a doctor. It was terrible injecting that into him. It was terrible not having health care. There's not much that can scare me. I've had the lights cut off. I've been on food stamps. I've been on WIC. I've been embarrassed trying to write out that WIC voucher when everybody in line is behind you and you can't get the cinnamon life cereal. You got to get plain life. Like there's just not much that can scare me except for the fact that I would have made all these mistakes and touched all these hot stoves. And yet someone else is still embarrassed by their failures, shortcomings, mistakes, choices.
Yeah.
The fear is that I leave the world worse than I found it. That keeps me up at night.
Wow. Oh boy. Look. Wow. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that out there that resonates with, because that's kind of like what do you want to call, like a commonality, a common story amongst our community. And it's like it's not favorable, but it's I think when you can deal with that and you can become that strong person that you are, I mean, it's like that just don't matter. I mean, that was like what I'm saying, it's like, that was something that made you stronger and made you better. And so just look at how you accomplished after that, though.
And I want to tell the whole truth, because I was 48 before I started talking about it. And I had come out of a bad divorce. I mean, I don't think any of them were good, but this one was one where I didn't want to marry somebody this liberal and this black. Whoops. But I had started dating someone, a police officer, prior military service, very straight shooting black man, never had a drink in his life, didn't curse. And I'm sitting on his couch about two weeks in, and I'm like, I need to tell you something. He's like, okay, what? I used to be a stripper. Oh, okay. Just curious, how long ago? Oh, about 20 years. Okay. Anything else? Yes, I'm a felon. Oh, okay. Like yesterday or no, about 20 years ago. Okay. Anything else? No. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. What do you want for dinner? That radical acceptance, that demonstration of Black love, that fully formed man, that extension of sanctuary and grace. From that place, I was like, you know what? I could say this again. I had come out of a relationship for 10 years where friends and family didn't know that because I couldn't say it. And in 2 weeks, there's no one. I've been married 4 times. There is no one I have ever had this conversation with. Ever.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
It might be something that slipped out, but it certainly wasn't something that came out purposely. If the worst things that you have done, you were able to tell your partner, and let me be very clear in this moment. I mean partner by whomever you choose, and I hold no judgment, only support for your choices and for your being and for your truth. When you're able to tell your partner the whole truth and they look at you and say, "What's for dinner?" You could do anything. And if you don't have that relationship, I'm sorry, and I encourage you to find it.
Wow, that's profound, and that's how a lot of people, believe it or not, are trapped in bad relationships.
Been there.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was possible.
Yeah. What personal challenges have you overcome that inform your work today?
The biggest personal challenge would be my bias. You know,
Mhm,
when you think that you are all that, because I did in my 20s, and
mhm.
that's when I went to prison. I did. I knew it. I was cute. Oh gosh, the colonial standard of beauty was all over me. Um, but when you are forced to see the humanity in all people, when you're forced, and this won't be popular, and I'm going to say it anyways, when you're forced to have a closer experience to what is written about Jesus's experiences. And I read the Bible 3 times all the way through. So those of you that are Christian and not, I am looking at you sideways, but we're good. But when you hang out with the whores and the thieves and the murderers and the worst of society, those that are shunned, and you see their humanity, it changes you and it does make you better. It does make you better. And from that experience, I just stopped judging people the same way. I just
Mhm,
did because I realized how close I was and how kindred I was to them. Now, I didn't commit a murder. I signed expense reports that I shouldn't. When I saw that it was going on, I joined in. I didn't report it. I profited from it. But it didn't matter. Felon is felon is felon. I can't rent an
mhm,
apartment or get a job at the post office same way as a murderer. Felon is felon. And
mhm.
sin is sin. So confronting my bias is what changed me the most.
Wow. How do you stay grounded amidst your many roles and responsibilities?
Oh, because I'm so flawed. First off, I have kids. You want to stay grounded. You think teenage kids, let your adult kids tell you the truth about yourself. Um, but because I'm flawed and I talk about my flaws all the time and I make mistakes all the time. I say things that hurt people that I don't mean, some that I do. I make mistakes in the workplace and outside of the workplace. I am unkind at times. I am reactive at times. I am very aware of the humanness of my experience. And what's there not to be grounded about? What have I done that's so fantastic that I would float up?
Well, I mean, I get what you say when you say that, but I got to tell you this, and then from the time that we first chatted there on LinkedIn, and as I see, you doing, your videos and some of these shows that you've done, I've got to tell you that there's nothing to dislike about your personality. I love,
Oh my
love, love
God.
your personality. Love it.
Come on.
I'm
Would you
serious.
please? Would you go back to high school and tell those mean girls, and I won't name you because y'all are friends with my friends, that there is nothing to dislike about my personality? I've got some exes you can tell that to. I've got some prior colleagues you could tell that to. I've got some former bosses that I'd like you to personally write that to, blow it up big time and hang it on the wall. That is a great compliment. Thank you. I am impatient. I am overly direct. I can ask too many questions. It's all, not all, that'd be false, but most of it truly does come from a good place. And I so appreciate that. That is one of the greatest compliments I've ever received.
Yeah, I mean, but see, it's like, I'm just gonna say this because I think whether it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if this is your personality, there's nothing to dislike about your personality. I think what some people that can't understand or like the truth don't want to hear the truth. Now they have a problem with that because it's like, how dare you?
Yes.
But it's not like how dare you. I mean, the truth is just the truth. Like you said, a felony is a felony.
Yes.
But you see, some people cannot accept that kind of truth. And you see, those are the folk that, are again, that's like out here with all this stuff in the atmosphere right now, you know,
Yeah.
because the truth is not to be told.
I, along those lines, I would say those are the same people that are the women that cross the street once they know that I'm a stripper in the neighborhood that don't want to talk to me anymore. Even though, do you know America spent more on all of the fine arts put together, Broadway, off Broadway, ballet, jazz performances, all of that in strip clubs, than all of those
Wow.
fine arts and on a yearly basis. And
Mhm.
based on that spend dollar, those women that don't want to talk to me because they think they might catch they might catch the stripping virus. It's contagious, apparently. They're hanging off their men's arms or their woman's arm like they are just truly the saints walking out of the kingdom. And I'm like, you won't talk to me, but he's the one that came in. I'd love to understand that a bit more one day.
Oh no. See, again, they may not be ready to hear that, but you see,
there you go.
It's just like, hey, it ain't you, it's him.
Yes. Yes.
What does resilience mean to you, and how has it shown up in your journey?
Resilience is an interesting word. I didn't know Black women had a choice. So I didn't know I didn't have to be resilient. Like, I didn't know there was an option B, which was sit down and rest, or just don't do it, or someone will come do it for you, or you can still have your job if you don't do it. Like, I never knew it was it's an optional event. I mean, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? And I've been a mom since I was 22 years old. So what's the alternative to being resilient? You enter relationships because you can't find employment. You need, for me, because I date men, you need that man, you need that income. You also love and care about them. But if you had $1 million, would you still be with them? Yes. For as long as you were? No. So you endure, you strategize, you move on, and you iterate. You continue to live, and many chapters of many lives. But I didn't know resilience was optional. I might check that out. That could be fun.
How do you balance personal identity with professional purpose?
Okay, so let me be true. So while this is me, my representative is fearless. She goes to work every day. She can admit that she is wrong. She is a quick thinker. She comes with lots of solutions. She is not risk adverse. She is unafraid and unapologetic. Now, as soon as this is over, I'm going to grab my iPad and play games for 2 hours. I just got up the nerve to watch Orange is the New Black because it's way too true it took me 20 years to recover. I'm going to watch some junk TV. I'm going to talk about what the women are wearing and how their hair looks, and if it's high body count hair. Shout out Salt Lake City, Real Housewives. But the real me is not some evolve. I'm a person, and I do very human, regular things. And so especially earlier in my career, my representative and I were very far apart, and we've come closer and closer together. These are the conversations we have in my home. I just have them in sweatpants.
Oh, I hear you. What role has spirituality or reflection played in your growth?
The biggest personal growth outside of prison, where I had 8+ months to do nothing but indulge in myself and read what I wanted to read. I mean, I couldn't make any decisions. It was all about me. That's all it could be about. I would say my yoga teacher training. When it was a very contentious time between my son, who I adore, as well as my daughter, but it was a very contentious time between myself and my son, and really trying to exert ownership over our children, which is not a thing. They're not of you. They're of themselves. They're going to go and do what be, just like you go and do and be. But my yoga teacher training, when my yoga teacher, Virginia Gallagher, said to me, what other people say about you is none of your business. And there is nothing changed by you having new information than before you had that information, other than your reaction. And the space between that information and your reaction, that space you control. And you do things to make that space bigger between stimulus and response. That can be meditation, that can be prayer, that can be silence, that can be sitting in an uncomfortable yoga position so you learn how to quiet your mind. That can be binge watching TV, that can be eating bad foods for you, that can be whatever you want it to be. Expanding that space, that is my spirituality. Because within that space, you recognize the shortcomings of the other person. You acknowledge the journey they're on and you're on. You remember that you have the ability to engage or disengage, and that you have the choice to never allow them into your space again or allow them in minimally. When you truly believe and understand that, your response is much different than when that space is this small.
Wow. Ooh, well, I'll tell you this. One thing that I just learned towards the end of last year, coming into this year, is I had start doing the mindfulness, yoga, and things of that nature. And I've got to tell you that you're absolutely right about that, because I've learned, to actually center myself a lot of times, especially when the stress is like just overwhelming. And I can tell you that basically when I learned to get to that place, it's like there's just a calm for me.
Yes.
And I won't let nothing disturb that.
Nothing can touch that. And as someone that's read the Bible 3 times in succession, as if it were a book in 3 different versions, I think the world would be an incredible place if Christians acted like Christians.
Well, well, I'll tell you like this, that you know what, that's on the wish list. That's on the wish list, because that ain't coming no time soon.
It seems very far from it. And as someone that speaks out on political issues often,
Mhm.
and on how politics influences business and personal life, I want to be very clear. I condemn all political violence, the
Yes.
insurrection,
Yes.
murders, multiple
Mhm.
murders. And,
Yes.
I am extremely concerned right now about the amount of white on white violence. I really need that community to look deep within itself. The same way that the Black community was instructed to look deep within itself when there's Black. But I'm very concerned about white on white violence, from serial killers to mass shooting at events to shootings at political rallies to the killing of our representatives to the destruction of our capital. I am very concerned about the Caucasian community,
Mhm.
and the amount of violence they are perpetrating on each other. And I really hope that the leaders of that community get together and do some symposiums, some workshops, some community groups, some conversations, so that they can really get a hold of the rage and anger that seems to be prolific, especially among the white male community. Women aren't out here being serial killers, and we're not shooting up concerts or hotels or events or rallies, I mean, that's just not what we are doing, regardless of color. So I really need my good white male brothers to reach into their community and wrap their arms around their youth and work through this anger that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Why
Just
do
like
you
y'all
think
said
they're
about
so,
us. Just like y'all said about us. Just like y'all said about us. Just like y'all said about us. Sorry,
why do
hold
you
on.
think they're so angry?
I don't. They have everything. I don't know why they're so angry. They have every possible advantage. Look. I don't know where the anger comes from. I feel bad for anyone. Carrying anger like that is horrific. It's
Yeah.
horrific inside. I don't want that for you.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know what they feel is being taken from them. They're still leading in all categories. 300,000 women lost their jobs in the first quarter of this year, but white male gains jobs. When I look at the House and the Senate and the presidency, I mean, white males have that on lock. When I look at management of major companies, I mean, they seem to have that too. I don't know what it is when they get married to women, because the study was specifically about women. They live longer, they do better at work, they earn more money, get more promotions. I mean, I don't know. Black women are trying all that we can. We're the educated group demographic that there is. I don't know why they are angry, but I know that when women step into their lives, everything becomes better. So, I mean, if you talk to any woman that's balancing a career and a household and children and education, I mean, if anyone should be angry.
Mhm.
So I don't know why they're so. We'd have to ask them. I can't speak for another demographic other than to say I really hope they are wrapping their arms around each other, and
Mhm.
providing those role models, like they told us to do. I want them to do the same. I want them to address it, and I don't want them handing their angry young white males like a Rittenhouse back to us, claiming that it now somehow belongs to marginalized communities because of one facet that may or may not be. Like, the last 10 mass shooters were not transgender,
Yeah.
even if they knew some transgender people. So I just, I don't condone political violence. I'm concerned about the anger of young white males. I want the older white male community to reach in and pull them up and out of this. It's dangerous for all of us.
Yes, it is. It is. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh God, don't break the law. Don't break the law. Just don't break the law. And it's interesting because like I don't even jaywalk. Um, since I was incarcerated, I've had maybe two speeding tickets, I think. It's been 20 years, 21 years. And don't date men you don't like. Like when you decide you don't like them anymore, you can leave. Don't get married as a means to make sure you break up when you break up. So you stop the cycle. Like, I'll just marry you because then I know I can finally be done. Like, don't do that. Don't allow people who are harmful to your children to access your children. I don't care what their title is, including father. And get as much education as you can. Education is the biggest equity play. I would obviously have a very long conversation with my younger self, and most of it is in my books, right? Because it is my love letter to the community of what not to do and how to do it better and different.
Let's move over to your work in leadership development.
Sure.
What drew you to the field of leadership development?
The lack of people like me in leadership development and in the leadership space, the monolith that I saw, the lack of and I think empathy is important. I don't think that it's invalid. The lack of diversity. I don't think the 1964 Civil Rights Act was a mistake. The lack of representation that allows businesses to thrive, and the lack of equity that gets in the place of productivity. For example, if I am working at home and you want me to truly be productive and you want me to be loyal to your company and you want your profits to increase, give me a stipend to clean my home because I never walked into the workspace and pulled out a vacuum cleaner and started vacuuming, but this is my home office and I have to vacuum it. Deliver groceries to my door. That $99 Instacart subscription would allow me to be more productive. That meal kit stipend would allow me to be more productive. And please don't give me another gym membership. So it's because I felt and feel that if I can get in the ear of a new leader and tell them when she says she needs to start an hour later or an hour earlier, she will work harder for you that hour later or that hour earlier. That's why I wanted to have influence over how leaders treat their subordinates.
How do you define transformational leadership?
Well, you got to transform something. You got to change something. You got to do something different. And you have to leave it better than how you found it. Every single day, every single meeting. It's a high bar. But the truth about leadership is you don't necessarily earn the most amount of money when you're in leadership. And you don't necessarily have the most amount of influence when you're in leadership. The least you could do is leave every encounter a bit better than how you found it. Every policy a bit better than how you found it. Every person, and I've been guilty of not always doing this, but a bit better than how you found them. The number one responsibility of a leader is to reduce stress, because science says when people are less stressed, not more stressed, they work harder, they stay longer, and they're more profitable to the company. They have less sick days. So transformational leadership touches that in that way.
What are the most common leadership blind spots you help people uncover?
The fact that every person truly must have a place where they feel they belong. I managed a most brilliant team of all women once, and there was a person on the team that leaned extremely, extremely right, extremely conservative. It was as important for me to protect their right to have a voice in that team as it was the person that aligned down the middle with me or even to the left of me. And, that has to happen. That must be the foundation.
Because what that sounds like, because I think I'm understanding that, but it sounds like it's a good thing is to meet people where they are and to give them that opportunity to, if it's to sit back, go forward, whatever they need, is just being out to give them that time or that space.
Absolutely. And it's also to like, and you need to admit your faults. I also told that same group of brilliant women. Oh, I tell you, I've had some fails. I was like, and this group of cis white women doesn't get it. And I will never forget the hurt when one of those women came to me and said, I'm not cis. How dare you other me? How dare you
Oh,
make that assumption? Oh, you could have buried me under the dirt. Under the dirt.
wow.
Yeah, my bias. My bias.
Mhm.
You're responsible not just for your intention, but your impact. My impact, that fail. That
Mhm.
total fail. The amount of trust I eroded with that person,
Mm.
right? Just
Yeah,
terrible.
because that didn't sound like a team player.
You mean me by saying that?
No, I ain't gonna say that, but I would just think, I guess maybe just thinking from generalities as you say that. I mean, I would think that, hey, you're cis, but mm, you
I
know,
mean, I should have known better. I had no business making that assumption.
that's true. I understand that part too.
Could they have been more graceful to me? Had I earned more grace?
How do you cultivate emotional intelligence in leaders?
You tell them they're wrong, and you tell
Mm,
them in an abrasive way, and then you tell them in a kind way, and you ask them which they liked better.
mm,
And I will hard start meetings with, you made a decision that was one of the most irrational, short-sighted, inappropriate decisions I have seen in my career. And then I
mm.
will say to them, I'd like you to walk me through how you made that decision because I'm trying to understand your point of view before I react or even give you some coaching tips. Which one of those approaches did you like better? Your employees too.
Mm.
I think that cold, in your face reality, which I think is almost a cultural nuance of my demographic, but I think that that's what's needed. You display and you mirror and you ask if they like it
Okay.
in private, but
Right.
you ask it
Right.
and you don't let them off the hook. Oh, well, that was just a bad day. Or, oh, let me explain to you my relationship with that person. Or, oh, let me do. No, you don't get to talk like that. You've decided to be an executive. You don't get to whine like that. You've decided to be an executive. You don't get to allow yourself to have a nickname that is kind of teasing, but kind of derogatory. That undermines your credibility and your ability to defend other people. And I
Mm.
ask them things like, why would you address something in private, like, oh, I'm sorry that happened, when it happened in public? What type of
Mm.
champion are you or aren't you? That's my biggest pet peeve. I'll tell you that in a minute. Don't slack me for something you said in a public meeting. I don't need your
Right.
private apology. And I will
Mm.
start a meeting with others saying, I'd like to start this meeting acknowledging that Tom slacked me to apologize for telling me he didn't give a something in another meeting. I really appreciated that, even though it happened during the meeting. And I just wanted to
Mm.
make sure that everybody was able to acknowledge that incredible apology that you gave. Thanks for letting me
Wow.
take this 5 minutes. Let's get back to the agenda. Yeah, I'll call you out if you're not going to call yourself out. I sure will.
Mm. What's your approach to developing inclusive leadership practices?
One of my favorite exercises is when you give the resume and you put a different picture and a different name on it. And this one has a different picture and a different name, but they both say the same thing. And you ask people who they would hire.
Oh wow. Excuse me, but this is funny, but not funny. But is that something like what they did with the experiment with the children and the dolls?
Hmm. Very similar. And it's funny because they will say, well, this person had typos in their resume. I couldn't believe it. Oh, that's actually a valid reason to question if you'd hire someone. Why didn't you see it in the other resume?
Mm.
How'd that happen? And you'll hear people say, like, I just can't quite put my finger on it, but I just feel this person would be better. And regardless of whether they're picking the BIPOC, Black, Indigenous person of color, or the more standard expected candidate, which for this purpose would typically be what's reflected in the management structure, an overwhelming majority of white, male, Caucasian, usually tall and also good looking, physically fit. Why would you pick the Black woman, for example, over the white male? This has to be fair across the board.
Right.
I'm not looking for you to only pick BIPOC or marginalized people.
Right.
I'm looking for you to pick the best candidate. I'm looking for you to leave this encounter saying, I would hire both of them equally. Because until you get to that point, your bias is showing. And bias isn't good no matter who it benefits.
Right. Right. How do you help organizations shift from transactional to visionary leadership?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. I mean, what I really want to say is you should hire me and pay my salary to find out. We give away a lot for free. I think one of the things is I help them define what the actual vision is. What do you have a vision? What does the next level look like? What does the next thing look like? And a lot of times, and this was recently pointed out to me by Doug, who is the CEO and founder of Lift Enablement. He said, Dr. V, what you're describing are things that'll get us to the next level, but what is the next level? And in that detail is where the magic is. And that's where that disruption and that conversation and that deeper dive, that's where that lives. But y'all can hire me when I'm done with my current employer, who I'm very much enjoying.
I know that's right. Let's transition to equity and social justice work that you do.
Oh.
So what does equity mean to you in practice, not just theory?
In practice, it means that I can reach things on the top shelf. It means that I can walk into a room and I don't see I'm the only one there. It also means that the person wearing a MAGA hat should not feel unsafe. Just like I should be able to stop in the back roads of Yorktown, Virginia, where there are only Confederate flags flying along this particular street, and stop, and I feel safe as well. Equity means everyone feels free to say, free to disagree, and free to spend their dollars where they agree or disagree. That is okay. You do not have to make a same-sex wedding cake. You don't have to do it. I don't have to ever buy again from you, and I'm going to tell all my friends not to do that either. That's equity. I don't want to tell Turning Point USA that they have to change their minds. They can believe that Black women have slower processing speeds. They can believe that. They can't shoot me for not believing it, and I shouldn't shoot them for believing it.
Right.
But what they can't do is try and make opinion fact. Equity means opinion isn't fact.
Right. Oh boy, we're gonna have to do another special.
Okay.
Because that right there, what you just said, that right there is like basically when I say drop the mic, casket, all that good stuff, nothing else needs to be said. That was all it right there. But those very people will refuse to listen to that and will say that you're barking at the system or you're trying to wreak havoc in the wrong way. And it's nothing like that. Again, it's these folk that cannot accept the truth and don't want to look at the man in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Because when you look in the mirror, you know you're lying and you know what you're doing is wrong. And so when you know that it's wrong and you don't want to do anything about it and saying, oh, this is the new norm, people don't have to accept that.
I think some people don't know that they're wrong. I think that's possible because critical thinking is a learned skill. I also think there's one small change I would like the world to make. The world. It's very small. And it just involves the word my. And if everybody talking would say, my God, says not to do this. My religion says not to do that. My household says not to do that. My husband says to me not to do that. If we just put that small qualifier, because your religion, my religion can tell me I can't do that. And I don't think you should ever have to do that if that's what your religion says. But remember, that's your religion, not mine.
Right, exactly.
Your husband may say that we should vote as a household and I should set the standard for the vote. My husband doesn't say that.
Right.
My husband would never. He doesn't even think that way. But that little word, my, we could all live together very well if we just inserted that. Because then when I hear you say, my God says same-sex relationships are immoral, I could be like, oh, cool. Yeah, your God and me, we don't, it's not the same. My God has a dash, G dash D. Yours has G-O-D. Somebody else might have H-U-M-M-U-A, right? Like whatever it is, but you can have yours. I'm very uncomfortable with guns, extremely uncomfortable with guns. I have never voted for someone not to have one. Myself is uncomfortable. You see the difference?
Right.
That's called equity and harmony. That's called the American foundation, aspirational foundation of America. I need to be careful with my words.
How do you help institutions move from performative to authentic equity work?
Not very well.
Come on now.
Because I think I'm doing something. And I act as if I did something. And then, I'm out on the street. So not all the companies I've worked with, but many. You think that the company has firmly hooked into the idea of equity, the idea that they truly want to know when something is not equitable, that they want to know when something is wrong, until you put pen to paper and you file that complaint and you say, I'm just noticing we don't have any Black or brown leadership. You want to speak on that? Or I'm noticing that our attrition rate is statistically significantly higher around our BIPOC employees. Did you want to talk about that? And can we break down the BIPOC also? And then all of a sudden your employment services are no longer needed. So, one thing that, and I was so shocked when I read this, the poor will always be among us. For the majority of America, they're Christian and they follow the Bible. And in that book, that is something that was said, the poor will always be among us.
Right.
So will the racist. So will the undereducated. So will people that don't want to accept what science is or use critical thinking to make a determination. So will people that disagree with you. Corporations will always be among us. And I don't know if any institution can truly go from 100% white, which is the way a lot of corporations actually start out when you look at their managing board, to truly integrated and equitable in a way that is not performative. But I don't know if they need to. I will take a 1% lift year over year and call it a win.
Let me kind of like deviate from that a little bit, because when you say that, and again, that's very true. But when you look at a lot of businesses that are up and coming or starting, especially those that know labor law or they know the laws of the country when it comes to business, do you think that that's why so many businesses choose to stay small with the 15 or smaller employees, because they don't have to hire Black people, or you don't have to hire white people, and you can continue to flourish and you don't have to worry about that. But, I think when you really want to get big, so now you put yourself in that new category, so that has to change. What do you think about that process itself in general?
As a former business owner, I just didn't have the infrastructure or knowledge to expand larger. So in my case, that wasn't the intention. However, I can't say that I didn't enjoy some of those protections. I think that's an interesting question, because I know that companies still fire people when they're on FMLA leave.
Where? Oh,
You
I'm
might want to check out a couple of
don't
my
answer
LinkedIn
that.
posts.
Don't answer that.
But and there are reasons, and because I do like to look at both sides. There are times when you can fire employees who are on FMLA leave. There are some very small, like threading the needle of a camel through the eye of a needle. There are some situations where you can do that legally, but there are still companies that have unsavory practices or unethical practices or unkind practices or um, practices that would not put them on Glassdoor's best place to work.
Mm,
I think that I think there's a couple things that happen, right? Like if you surround yourself with people that tell you you're doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. It becomes fact. I think that opinions, what does Salt and Pepper say? Opinions are like, and everybody's got one. Like I still believe that people try and do the right things in the right way, even as I witness companies doing the wrong way. I
mm.
still have hope, the audacity of it.
Okay, Barack Obama.
um, and I still believe humans are fundamentally good because I've seen humans stripped of every right, every dignity, every attachment that they have, and I still saw good. So I believe that even the worst of us, excluding those that are harmful to children and animals and women. But gosh, that's a large segment of the population, isn't it? I still believe people are fundamentally good. And I refuse to think that left to our own devices, as Ronald Reagan say, that we need to be worried about the slip back to the jungle. That dog whistle that was on the
Oh,
Senate floor the other day. Yeah, that was recently parroted back. I don't think that's true. I don't think that we're devolved. I think that we are all connected and that the best of us will always rise to the occasion.
so I just want to just do a disclaimer here. When I asked you that question, I said don't answer that. Is because I asked you that because I'm a former investigator with the United States Department of Labor.
Hey,
So I have investigated companies for that, and I've
yes,
caught a lot of them up in that
I
situation.
bet you have.
I've
You're
caught a
doing God's
lot of
work. Doing God's work. And I appreciate all of those that are still investigators and are still working cases and are still doing God's work. Hey,
uh, what systemic barriers do you see most often in your consulting work?
um, sex, uh, financial wealth. Here's the I like to talk in examples. The biggest disparity I see is when you come from a family that has generations in the business world, whether owning businesses or being executives at top companies. The conversation around the dinner table, and I was able to glimpse this. I was married to a white man for a moment. The conversation around the table is not about racism. It's not about who the police beat up on the corner. The conversation is about how they navigated a business situation. There's this strategy that goes on. There's this conversation using words and jargon and cadence and approaches and the privilege of being married to someone who's a business consultant and now you're in a VP position. Of course you're going to get ahead. Of course you know how to talk your way out of situations. Of course you're slick with it. When you don't have access to that history around the dinner table, you're at a disadvantage. I would also like to say one of the biggest tools I think that will um, mitigate systemic barriers is AI in the form of coaching. When you have someone that you can do 50 at bats of how to talk to your manager when they start to micromanage you in retaliation for a claim you might have done, or they start to micromanage you because they want to manage you out and there's a PIP coming, or they start to manage you and actually want to inspire you to do better and there's a promotion coming, or they have a conflict with a colleague and they're just not sure how to navigate it without saying the wrong thing and they truly want to make it better. All of those things. If you can run that scenario 50 times with an AI coach that talks to you like a real person and you can set that difficulty level, we can equalize this. Now, if
Mhm.
that's not enough to shut down AI by some groups of people, I don't know what is. But we have a moment in time right now where we can literally accelerate the learning of the underserved and underexposed communities and put them on par with people that have generations of not just wealth, but experience and conversation. So yes, get yourself a coach, but buy that AI coaching. I know Train HQ offers it. I know Coach Hub offers. There's a lot that offer it, and soon, because that's an area I'm absolutely going to attack, and getting AI coaching to the underserved. Watch for that. I'm real serious about that.
Okay. Well, we're joined for life now, so we'll definitely be talking about that because we got to have you back, of course, for another special.
Yes, please.
How do you navigate resistance when advocating for equity?
What's resistance? I simply don't recognize it. I just do it anyway. And at 51 years old, and in the privileged position that I'm in, I can take a hit. I can lose my job. I'll get another. Not this job. I like the job I have now with Lyft Enablement. I want to be serious about that because they've given me room to really grow and expand and do some really cool stuff. But I can afford to be fired. I can afford to stand on principle. I am that auntie. Now, if you can't afford it, please stay employed. I just keep pushing. And I don't, like, again, is it an option not to push? Is it an option?
Well, see, I don't think that's an option, but I think that's what a lot of people choose because they say they don't want to bark up the tree.
Oh man, I want to strip the bark off the tree. Look, I'm a Sagittarius. I can be with a ukulele in a tree or in a boardroom at any given moment. This can happen. But I mean, as someone that's been in sales, no is just a request for additional information. That's how I view resistance. I just didn't inform them enough. Let me start again.
Oh, wow. So let's transition over to your work as an author.
Oh, okay.
What inspired you to start writing professionally?
Well, I have to give a shout out to my dissertation chair, Dr. Celicia Thompson. I was her first student. She is a very accomplished Black woman, and she showed me her 2 books like in our first meeting, and I was like, "You wrote books?" She's like, "You about to be a doctor. You can write books too." And when I did my dissertation, she's like, "Now you can say all the stuff you wanted to say." But really, the noise in my head. My books are about all the things I should have said and didn't have the courage or space or wisdom or words to say. And I write because I just want some peace in my brain. It is the clap back. Everything in my books is true, is how that guy treated me bad. And I'm going to tell it now. And I'm going to tell it in enough detail so he knows who I'm talking about, or what that girl said to me, or what that boss said to me, or what that manager said when she said, "I want to come back in my next life as a Black woman because I like your fingernails." Like it's to tell the truth that is still happening in 2024. That was said. Or isn't your baby beige because it's black and white? Said that to a coworker of mine out loud, said it out loud. Or got on a call and said konnichiwa, and when the person wasn't even of that. Yeah, it's to tell the truth because people need to know this still happens. This is not a past event. This is a current event. And while I'm thinking that happened, and the person that it happened to is thinking about that, the person that said it is moving on, having the conversation at the dinner table about what to do in the next business situation. So it is because I started professionally writing because I wanted to avoid people touching all the hot stoves I had touched.
Can you tell us about the themes in your books?
Yeah. Fix your face, watch your tone. That's about why you don't have to stay silent with facts and figures and numbers. There's science in here. And it's about what to do if there was a statistic, 80% of women in leadership positions in tech said it was their spouse or spousal equivalent that allowed them to excel. And I'm like, I got 3 broken marriages that say that's not true. So what was it that they did? In there is what it was that spouse provided and how you can provide that for yourself without the perfect spouse while you're waiting on the perfect partner, or if you happen to be in communion with someone that's not so perfect. Okay. This book, Unapologetically Disruptive, this is about the 4 lessons that you need to know about the business world. And I didn't write either of these books to make money. So let me tell you what they are very quickly. Lesson 1, being a disruptor makes people uncomfortable. Lesson number 2, you may never be enough for someone else. Lesson 3, you're responsible for your intent and your impact. And lesson 4, detractors are louder than supporters. So listen for the whispers.
You can't say that any better.
Well, thank you.
You can't say that any better because if you've been, not all workspaces are comfortable environments.
That's correct.
And those environments are intended to be that way for other. That's intended. Now, to call out that intention for other in that way
Mhm.
is what causes the problem. So
Yes.
when you say being disruptive, I mean, I understand that 500%. And I think more people need to learn to be disruptive, because when you're unapologetic and you're like, this is just wrong and this is why it's wrong, and be done with it. Now they take it the way they want to, but that don't mean that you have to say, okay, well, I just wanted to just let you know just because. No, no.
Yes.
Because now when you start backtracking, now you're done for real.
Yes. And, and people don't know their workplace rights. And if it's not intentional, just think, if it's not intentionally uncomfortable, my goodness, what would it be like if it was intentional? If this is by happenstance, can you imagine?
Right.
Our
Exactly.
ancestors can.
Right. Um, which book was the most personal for you to write, and why?
Oh, the chapter on me losing my breasts in Unapologetically Disruptive. And I did not lose them to cancer. I had 8 or 9 implant surgeries, and I kept getting contractures. So after 20 some years, they had to come out, which left me going from a 32 double D to not even an A cup, and just really hard to look at. The writing of honestly about the indulgent amount of time I spent laying in my very large shower. Thank God I could lay down in that shower. And just think of a Black woman with a silk press laying down in a shower. It was that bad. With 4C
Oh, wow.
hair. With 4C hair. Don't let this fool you. With 4C hair. Like, the depth of my sorrow. It writing about when the bandage came off, because I was septic, and they pulled a pint of pus off my breast in the doctor's office, and then I went in for surgery the day or two after. When that bandage was finally unwrapped and I could take a deep breath because it was tightly wrapped. And my husband said, "You want me to go?" I said, "No, I need you to stay. I need you to tell me." And he, without flinching, looked at my body and looked at me and said, "I don't have a problem with this, but you are going to." Um, there's no, just finding the words to be honest about that. That was the hardest, rawest writing I have ever done.
Oh, wow. So when you in just writing that, what was the thing about that entire situation that just said to you, I'm going to put this in a book?
It's true. I know I'm not the only one. And it's very important to me that as you see me on stage and my husband's in the front row clapping away, and my 2 perfect children, and my soon-to-be daughter-in-law, who is phenomenal. That 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 young white woman is phenomenal. I phenomenal. And you see me in nice clothes, and you see me with a very large ring, and you see me well-fed, and you see my hair glossy and silky. You also need to know that I am a stripper and a felon and a deformed physical person underneath it. Because no, the world does not need one more person. We don't need that. You don't need to look at any other person with any bit of envy, or why do they have it and I don't, or how did they get that, or I want to be that. You need to know that I am misshapen, and yet still lovable, yet still joyful, yet still educated, yet still with the message, yet still present and valuable. Because my
Well,
Caucasian standard of beauty speaks so many volumes of books other people do not need to read.
right, right. So how do you weave lived experience into your writing?
It's the only way I know how to write. I write
Mm.
about all the things I did wrong and I write the story behind it. There's a lot I haven't told. There's a lot. People are like, how did you tell so much? I'm like, that's nothing. Um, you know, I we talked a lot about Jesus and his ways, and I think it's because of the political climate we're in, but he taught through stories. And I've always been naturally inclined to teach through stories. Before y'all go crazy, I'm not comparing myself to Jesus. Um, I would never wander in sandals.
Oh Lord. No,
I
no
wouldn't.
sandals, Dr. Lee.
I'm probably not going to hang out with lepers either. Princess Diana is also better than me. Like but I do, like, I tell stories and I like to learn through stories. I'm fascinated by documentaries. I tell the truth. The only reason it makes sense for me to have gone through so much is because I was meant to share it.
Mhm. So
I do.
wow. What's your writing process like? Structured or intrusive?
Oh, this is the best.
Or
Okay.
intuitive?
Yes. No, I love this question and I hardly ever get this question. So thank you so much. I put on the radio and I start listening to songs that I like or new songs or whatever it is. And the song triggers the thought. And then I put it into a note in my phone, like I voice to text. And it is the songs. Every single chapter in my book starts with a song. It is meant because that song inspired that chapter. It is so connected to music. It is literally how I think. It's
Wow.
how I think.
Wow. And so I guess when you get that inspiration, do you like, besides after you do the text to speech, do you like go and you just start writing then, or do you like get it all set up and then you go back and write?
Yeah, there's no outline. There is no outline. It's pure chaos. I type very, very fast, like 90 words a minute. Sometimes use voice to, I just get it all out. Whatever it is that I'm thinking, it all goes out. And then I'll go back and like try and sort of organize it. Some stuff goes for the next book, some stuff stays. And then I have the incredible Maddie McCormick, my soon to be daughter in law. Let me tell you how this woman from Portland, Oregon, is like, does that really happen? No, that is so wrong. Like, she's adorable. And she helps me add a bit more structure. And she's like, you can't talk about your husband no more. You've done it for 3 chapters. It's enough. Can you take that out, please? Yes, I can. Are you sure? But this is the right song. I really want to. She helps add some more structure, but no, I'm not very good at doing an outline or a formal process. I don't have times where I'm like, I'm going to write every day from 1 to 3. I just write when the noise gets too loud. It's just too loud. And that turns down the volume for a little bit.
Wow. It's amazing when, the different authors that come here on the show, everybody's got their own different way of doing it. And then, because I'll tell you, like for me, when it just when it hits my brain, I go and I write. When
Yeah,
I don't have anything to write, I don't force it
that's right.
because, after I write it, then I'm done. When I go back, that time comes again, little things come back where I can go and I can do my tidbits and keep going. But I don't just keep doing it because I don't want to actually make it wrong or just put some fluff in there.
Yeah, same. It's the things that you can't help but say. That's
Right.
how I write.
So we also discussed, we do Black History 365. And I ask you in Black history, who has been the most influential person or persons in your life or your career? And you told me it was James Baldwin.
That right there. Whoo!
And
Yeah.
so, what was your first encounter with James Baldwin's work and how did it impact you?
I heard, and I don't have it memorized. And I remember in pictures, but I heard the most audacious, brash, harsh, pointed criticism of the United States and its racist actions I had ever heard. And the justification and explanation was, I have so much love, I can't help but be a critic.
Mm.
And the amount of courage and pain. You know, I have a great respect for truth telling, even if I don't agree with your truth. That word my again, my truth, your truth. And I feel that he really wanted people to self-examine. He wasn't trying to, he wasn't trying to move the crowd like an MC, right? He wasn't trying to have these large rallies. He was trying to strike at the heart of that which should be considered.
Yes. Yes.
And in that time period, as a Black gay man, I can't think of anything more dangerous.
Ooh, tell me about it. Look, think about the Harlem Renaissance in general when they all ran to France.
There's a reason Tina Turner ended up there. So I will say that I respect people that want to shine a light in places that are very dark. Even if I don't agree with the type of light or the intensity of light. And I find his work to be brash and unapologetic. And I have a great deal of respect for that.
It is, and I tell you, he used the words like a sword. Have you seen that documentary, I'm Not Your Negro?
And it was hard to watch.
Mm,
And it was hard to watch.
yes.
But that's my jam.
And I'll just tell you, I think about writers, especially from that period because like I always think about the Harlem Renaissance. Now I would just say the writers for that time were just second to none. But the thing that always gets me is everybody gets credit for doing things in the Harlem Renaissance period other than Langston Hughes.
That's a good one.
I love Langston Hughes.
That's a good one.
I mean, I love James Baldwin is good too because I got his books as well, but I love Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes was so much more diverse, but he too was like a master swordsman with the words.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And, for me, I really respect people that live the fullest expression of themselves.
Yes.
I crave being around that the joy that comes from the fullest expression of yourself.
Right.
And that applies across all sex. The bravery it takes to be transgender. That's not easy. Nobody wants that. Nobody chooses that path. It's not like gaining a medal or extra income. The bravery it takes to be the fullest expression of yourself is what I hope to one day achieve. I try to get closer.
Right. So, can you tell us which of Baldwin's writings speaks most directly to your personal journey?
Okay, I figured you would ask me this question, and I'm not going to answer it because I feel that he would say, my work should never define anyone else. That is for them to do. And so while I have them and I know that I should answer, I will refuse respectfully to answer because I feel that it would be totally contradictory to the messaging that he put out, which was ask your own questions, find your own insight.
Right.
And look at the fruits of the own person to find where they lay. So I am going to respectfully decline to answer in the hopes that everyone will go out and read everything and try and figure out what mine is.
Okay.
See, that's one of them floating up moments. Somebody ground me right now. Ain't nobody worried about what I think about James Baldwin writing and which word.
but I think for just when you just think about James Baldwin in general, again, I love his writings as well. But just recently in my book club, this was like actually a few months ago, we actually did Giovanni's Room.
Oh,
Giovanni's Room is so 21st century that was done in the 19th century
Hurt your
that you
feelings.
will not believe the way it resonates.
Mm-hmm.
And that's was something that we discussed, and we discussed that for like some hours because it was like there is no way that this is resonating right now today because you can see everything that he wrote.
Yes. And isn't that painful?
Yes.
Isn't that painful? Isn't that unfortunate?
Yeah.
Isn't that disappointing?
Yeah. This it's the short sightedness.
It is. And people forgetting to use the word my. You
Hmm.
can define and have whatever experience you want. You simply cannot legislate that onto other people.
Exactly.
I truly don't care what you believe
Hmm.
until it harms someone else.
Exactly.
I won't come live in your neighborhood if that's what you've set up. I have your neighborhood. Go off grid, way far off grid, if I could suggest. Um, but I'll protect your right to have it. In exchange, you need to protect my right not to.
Well, we got two comments here in the chat from Catherine Washington Williams. The first one is she said true. The second one, she just said yes. And so I'm assuming this is about the talk that we're talking about with Baldwin. And the third one, yes, I'm sure it's talking we were talking about with Baldwin because she said it's sad when we were talking about the resonation of from that time to now and how that book is so resonant right now.
It is, and life seems to be cyclical. It seems to be set up that way. If you look at the seasons, I mean, there seems to be a rhythm. The
Mhm.
water system and flow across the world is cyclical, except now we've disrupted that. So I'm not surprised when these things come. I was a firm believer that when Obama was elected, the country felt we swing so far left. I was very worried about the swing to the right. I know the middle will come back. I
Mhm.
hope it comes back very soon
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people, I would like to be in the middle. I
Mhm.
would. I'd like to be in the middle. I've been pulled off center because things have become so polarized, but I'd love to trot down the center of the lane. That sounds like a good place to be.
Okay. Um, Catherine, I put that on the screen. She says, "Amen." Go
Yeah.
live in an off place self.
Yes. Way off. Way off. Look, I'm in Arizona. There is a lot of open space. I promise I will not visit.
uh, how do Baldwin's themes of identity and truth shape your approach to leadership and equity?
That everyone has a right to exist and that it doesn't matter how good a leader says they are, the fruit of what they do. You look at what they do. Look at how they treat people. Look at how people feel after they've encountered you. That is the measure of who and what you are.
Mhm.
And he had very strong themes around that, around how America treats Black people,
Mhm.
around how America treats gay people, around how different groups interact, around what type of leader you are. I will judge you by what you do. And that is a very strong theme for me when I'm coaching leaders. I don't care what you think you did. What do you do? Did you cut that person off? Did you slight that person? Why would you ever expect them to then respect you when you have not respected them?
Okay. This is Dr. Williams just put this up again. She says she doubt if it does due to the harm.
Mhm. I feel you. I feel you. And thank you for your comment. It's brave
Um,
to make a comment. It's brave to speak up during this time.
yes, it is. It is. And the thing that I'm wrapping my head around right now is the censorship.
Yeah, we may not be able to have this conversation in a couple weeks. That is, you know, I was watching the news. I did hear the president say that if all you talk about is things negative against Trump, referring to himself in the third person, which then you shouldn't be allowed to be on there. It's just anti-Trump, anti-Trump, anti-Trump. How can you be anti-Trump all the time? Well, stop giving us such great material, number one. But secondly, like, yeah, actually, you can. You can. That's one of the things that we fought for, that you can be anti anything you want over and over and over again, and that you can do jokes, and you can do jokes that promote critical awareness and thought, critical thinking. So it's a very interesting time. I'm not sure how it will all shake out. I do believe that the country will get back black to a place of center, and in enough time to take down the statues that they're putting back up and reconstruct the museums that they're shutting down, and reunify a country that desperately needs it. But I will say, I was very shocked to realize how much hate there were for Black women when Kamala was not. Like, how much hate do you have to elect a felon who I actually thought was going to be, I hoped that if we elected a felon, I might be better off and better situated as a felon. That doesn't mean I voted for him. That means that I thought that if there was a tolerance for that, then there would be a tolerance for me. What I realized is there's just a hatred of Black women. And I don't understand why. I mean, we've done everything for y'all, the collective y'all.
Yes.
We've raised your babies. We've educated your babies. We've fed you. We've given you culture. We've given you birth. We've given you structure. We've given you hugs. We've wiped your tears. We've wiped your bottoms. We've made your meals. The amount of hate to not even learn how to say someone's name who is running on a national stage. I was shocked and still grappling. You know, there were a couple days there I wasn't sure I could talk to my husband because I was disappointed in Black men. Disappointed in Black men. Oh, and while I'm on the topic of Black men, how dare Snoop take his nephew or grandson to a movie and there's two women and they have a baby and he has to explain that? Why doesn't he explain all the time he talked about gin and juice and spoke about women so negatively and all the misogynistic treatment that he did? Y'all, I'm getting red. I'm getting really upset. All that he put out in the world, and now he's lamenting the fact that he can't go watch a movie and has to explain that?
Oh,
Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry, but he need to go and crawl under a rock right about now because
he's shucking and jiving.
He's well replaced.
Nelly, I got a list. Did 50 on it? Did 50 do the same thing?
No, he did not. No, he was all on the he was all on P. Diddy, so no, he ain't have nothing to say about that.
And let's talk about that man right there. This disgraceful. By the way, I don't care what he wasn't guilty of. I saw him drag that Black woman, and I will never bop to him again.
Right.
There is no music enough for me to participate in the denigration of Black women.
Right. Exactly. No I agree. This is another comment there from Dr. Williams that she need to be on the show here with you because she agree, and we need to treat each other as human beings.
Absolutely.
And she said the country is without a president. He stated he's
I apologize.
And when we was going through, and she was like, "Oh, when you was going in,
tribe."
And this last comment is, "Oh, come on, Black woman." Yes. Are the most hatred race in America. Day one, rape. 2025, still rape.
How about it? And it's definitely not what we're wearing. Look, I'm inviting people on your show. Come on. It's not my show, but I appreciate it. You know, I think if we remember the word my religion, my choice, my household, my husband, my wife, my partner, that you can have that. And if we remember, we are all connected. We are like that grove of aspen. You kill one, we will all fall. We have so much more in common than what separates us. Most of us. And if you just strive to see the humanity in someone, from that place, we don't have to do this to each other. We don't. We
No.
have a choice.
Yes. Final question for you.
Sure.
In what ways has Baldwin's courage to confront uncomfortable truths inspired your own voice?
It's inspired me to know that I should always have a passport because I might need to go to France one day. I know that sounds flippant. I mean that literally, that it reminded me that with great stances, speeches, and opinions can come great consequence. And you need to be ready to lose your job, which I have. You need to be ready to lose friends, which I have. You need to be ready for the hate that may come, which it has. You need to be ready to potentially exit stage right. And for anyone that ever hears this and is like, well, you should go back to where you came from, or if you don't like the country, leave it. I love this country. That's why I say these things. I am the American dream. I have learned more lessons and overcome more obstacles, which is more American than other people will ever dream to be. So maybe you should go back somewhere, because I won't until I decide to. And then I won't need to announce it and I won't need your invitation.
Okay, before we're gonna wrap up here, there's two more comments here. The Constitution of the United States starts off as "We the people."
This one, I've read this too. That's how American I am, right here. It's got the Declaration of Independence in it as well. Y'all, everybody should have a little pocket copy. Thank you, National Coalition of 100 Black Women, of who I am a member, for this, because we need it right now. Sorry, go ahead.
And the last one here is, and says, "I'm right behind you. I got mine ready.
Come on.
Passport."
Good. I'm glad.
So, in closing, do you have any words of wisdom or encouragement for our audience? Tell them how to connect with you on your socials, your website that they need to go and visit, how they can get your books.
My books are on Amazon. Thank you for asking. The Unapologetically Disruptive Hard Lessons, Simple Truth is a very low cost digital copy. Heck, if you can't afford the copy, hit me up. I will send you a digital copy, because there's a ton of wisdom and ton of value in there. And please make my life and my mistakes worthwhile by reading the book and avoiding the hot stove. I am drvboykin.com, Dr. V Boykin on LinkedIn, Dr. V Boykin on YouTube, Dr. V Boykin everywhere. And if you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I will respond. I truly care. I truly want to help. I'd love to know what you think of my book. I'd like to know how it hits you, because it matters. Again, I didn't write books to get rich. I wrote books to help, and I want to know if it helped.
Well, for all of you that are watching, of course, we stream live on 8 channels. For those of you that are watching, I hope you guys enjoyed, but also if you're watching particularly on any of the YouTube channels, if you would please support us by subscribing and getting all of the notifications, I would definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely.
What you guys should have gotten from this show tonight is, as Dr. V has pointed out, being unapologetic means a whole lot. And in most cases, I mean, hey, it means different to a lot of people. But, I think to stand up and be about what you believe in and how you see things, especially when it's wrong, and how you need to get that out, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because you do have freedom of speech, which, of course, well, for this time being, we do have that. And so... So unless you're on one of those major networks that's got the licenses where they're censoring folks and putting folk out of business and firing people and everything, I think that's all crazy. But hey, you do have that right, and you can voice your opinion. If ever you feel like you can voice your opinion, then that means that you're not living your life to the utmost truth and to its fullest. Because being a freed person means just that you are free, except for, now we're not talking about going breaking laws, but you are allowed to speak your opinion regardless of the case. People might not like it, but it's your truth. How you say it, Dr. V? My truth, my religion.
That's right.
So I want you all to especially if you want to learn more, especially about the books that Dr. V has written, I suggest that you guys really go and reach out to her on social media, discuss that, and just learn a whole lot more, because her books are definitely about the help. They are definitely about helping the underserved and marginalized communities, because that's the whole premise of this platform. Let's bring everybody up, because if we don't reach back to help and do what's necessary to continue to build and bring our communities together, who else is going to do it?
That's right.
I thank you all for watching us tonight and participating on the show, because that actually helps a whole lot. But we are going to do one more special this week. We're going to do a Sunday afternoon special at 3 p.m.
Okay.
And I thank you all for watching and participating. And I want you guys to have a great weekend. And please join us on Sunday afternoon as we have another episode of America in Black and White, where we are going to continue to color conversations on the canvas of America as we discuss AI. Thank you again, Dr. V.
Thank you.
And you all have a great evening. And I will definitely be messaging you on LinkedIn.